of inflation. Now, here's one contributor to inflation: energy. With natural gas trading at historic lows compared with crude oil, traders have been calling for a bounce, but at least one analyst says not so fast. Bloomberg's Adam Johnson is here from the markets desk with the details. Adam.
Yeah, Stephen Schork, always a fun guy to talk to. He's very gung-ho, and he's not afraid of going out on a limb and calling him as he sees him if that's against the grain. We spoke to him this morning, and here's what he said. Here are 3 reasons not to be bullish on nat gas. And he, by the way, acknowledges the discount versus crude oil, but says here are 3 reasons why in the short term he's not bullish. Number 1, he says the fundamentals are incredibly weak. 60% of nat gas demand is from industrial use. He says an example, just look at GM, and he said they're effectively going to idle the equivalent, I love this stat, the equivalent of 450 football fields worth of factory space. All right, that's just one example, of course, and an extreme, but he cites it. Number 2, he says that while utilities can switch to nat gas versus coal, the demand hasn't materialized up to this point. He said the warm weather, which of course creates the demand for air conditioning, which creates the demand for electricity, just hasn't materialized. So he said, and there are also, by the way, high inventories of nat gas at the utilities. So again, point number 2. And point number 3, something no one else is looking at. He said the Baker Hughes index of rigs that are actually being used effectively underestimates the production capacity. A lot of the drilling that's in the shales is unconventional rigs or non-conventional rigs. They're not counted in that index. So he said that's why, as you see the thing come down, it looks like production's coming down. The prices need to respond and go down further. It's sort of interesting.
Now, very, very quickly, short term, 2 key words you used when you're talking about Stephen Schork. Does he see the possibility for a bullish trend long term?
Yeah, he does if you go out to August and you get that warm weather demand. Another interesting comment, and this sort of ties into Bespoke, they said there is a trend. You want to be long nat gas in the 3rd quarter. It's typically up 13% over the course of the quarter versus the others. So he says, yeah, hang in there maybe by August.
All right, Adam Johnson, thanks very much. We're going to stick with the energy topic, moving from natural gas, though, to crude oil. One oil and gas CEO says he expects a spike in prices around the corner. Lydia Thu has more on those comments. Lydia?
That's right, Eric. Well, not a lot of action actually in crude today, I should say. Crude hanging out south of $69 a barrel here, 68.69 currently. But the CEO of Royal Dutch Shell, which is Europe's biggest oil and gas company, says hang on because we're going to see some action soon. Oil has already rebounded 52% this year, and Shell's CEO Jeroen van der Veer is warning that crude oil is set for a spike in price. He said at a conference in Kuala Lumpur today that as the economy turns, demand will come back and the current overcapacity of supply will disappear. In fact, he says the world needs more unconventional energy supplies because oil and nat gas won't be enough to meet demand. Now, in terms of exploration for new supply, here's what's been happening. As crude prices fell from the record of $147 a barrel last July, the use of rigs to explore for new oil and gas sources has dropped as well. And that's measured by the Baker Hughes index of oil and gas rigs, which has really fallen off a cliff. You can see on that chart here, down 44% since last September. And Shell CEO isn't the only one expecting a pickup in crude prices as demand picks up as well. Analysts surveyed by Bloomberg have also been raising their oil price forecasts on optimism about a recovery, with Goldman Sachs analyst raising his 4th quarter estimate to $70 a barrel. And Eric, as you can see, we're getting pretty close there already.
Lydia, Shell CEO says he's concerned about supply. What about all those tankers that were filled with crude earlier this year that are sitting in the ocean waiting to deliver?
Right, and so the latest story we've got on that one here on the Bloomberg is that oil companies are storing crude on at least 7 supertankers off the coast of the UK, which is apparently enough to supply Britain for more than a week. And what they're still seeing, that supply even floating out there, even though prices have come so far. But really, when it comes to Shell CEO, those comments were also about the need for unconventional sources of energy as demand continues to improve. Back